All right. So the topic that concerns today, and also the lecture topic for the topic for this week experiments is vortex, free and forced vortex. Since this has not exclusively been covered before in any of my video lectures, we are going to do it today. So you consider the following situations. You have seen a whirlpool, right? Whirlpool can be formed in many places, including oceans. You have seen a tornado, right? These type of figures you have seen before as well. And if there is a glass in which the water is, there is a hole at the bottom. You have seen this type of motion, that the water flowing out of the vessel through a central hole in the base, like this one here. Actually, you can do this experiment using, it's very simple. There's a bottle here, and you can make this with a Coca-Cola bottle or something, and just make a hole at the, at one base. You can see these type of motions. So what are these? You see whirlpools, tornado, and water flowing out of a vessel through central hole in the base. The common thing in all these three cases is that it has a rotating mass of fluid. Alright. This rotating mass of fluid is called as vortex. The motion of a rotating mass of fluid is known as the vortex motion. Simple. So that liquid is called vortex, the rotating liquid or fluid, and the motion, its motion is called the vortex motion. Now the vortex motion is of two types. One is free vortex motion, in which the fluid mass rotates without any external force impressed on it. So yeah, please mute everybody. Everybody, please mute yourself. It's a distraction. So the fluid rotates due to some internal action or due to already imparted rotation. One of the examples of free vortex motion is a whirlpool. What is a forced vortex motion? You see, in free vortex motion, there is no external force, right? So, but in forced vortex motion, what is going to happen? The fluid mass is made to rotate by means of some external source. The external source exerts a constant torque on the fluid, causing it to rotate at a constant angular velocity. Very simple. Example is a vertical cylinder containing a liquid rotated about its central axis with a constant angular speed. All right. So two types of vortex motion. One is free, the other is forced. In free, there is no external force impressed on it. In the force, there is motion due to an external force. One of the examples of the force is that the vertical cylinder which contains a liquid is rotated. That you will see in the experiment also this week. Now, there is no expenditure of energy from any external source in free vortex motion, as the name indicates. However, a forced vortex motion is accompanied by expenditure of energy from an external source. Now we will make an attempt to understand free and forced vortex in terms of plane circular vortex flows. So not just the formulas, but we'll go into how these things are derived and what is the plane circular vortex flow, and try to arrive at some of the equations that are there. But the first prerequisite is to appraise a steady flow situation along a curved streamline. So you are already covering the chapter fluid kinematics. So there you might have already know what you might already studied what a streamline is. Okay, so we'll go and have a closed loop for the derivation of these equations. Steady flow along a curved streamline. The assumption in a streamline, the curved streamline, is that it's a two-dimensional flow for an inviscid, so there is no viscosity, incompressible fluid on a vertical plane. Incompressible fluid means the density does not change from point to point, and with respect to time as well. So please look at this figure here. You see this is a streamline. You see my arrow. This curve. This is a liquid element that is represented by number 1 here. There are some things that you can also see when the liquid is rotating this mass of fluid. If there is a pressure P from this end, so and the pressure from this side is P plus delta P delta N del P del N into dN. This is how it is represented. At one side there is a differential pressure acting on it, right? We are going to write later also the Newton's law of motion on that. And the velocity is V in this side. In this side means tangential to it. All right. This length, you know, the thickness is dN. N is in normal direction. dN, like dx. So there's a dN, and the height is dz. So this can be related with cos theta, dz and dN. And this is angle we have taken. This fluid element, the center of the fluid element is at theta. See here, from the vertical. So this is the assumption we have taken. This is N is the normal direction, S is the direction perpendicular to the normal. That is the direction in which the object or the water, the velocity exists, right? S. And yeah, as you see, this is the velocity V. So this is N direction. So the differential change in velocity in this direction is going to be dVn. This velocity, if there is a velocity is V, and at point theta, if the velocity is V, then at theta plus d theta, the velocity is going to be V plus dV. We are going to come to all these derivations a little later, very soon. And this angle here is d theta. So this is the description of the streamline here. All right. And this is dVs. So this is dVs, the incremental velocity in the S direction. S means the velocity tangential to the direction. All right. Okay. And our point of interest is point 1, as I told you before. So drawing the same diagram here for the sake of convenience so that we can verify. So the component of acceleration is the normal to the streamline is. So we say in N is the normal direction. So if Vn is the velocity in the normal direction, so I mean if the V is the velocity, then the acceleration is dv dt. So in the normal direction, An is the acceleration, so it's dVn dt. Vn is in the normal direction. You see this figure here, that dVn, this one here, is V d theta, V d theta. All right, because theta is very small, d theta is very small. So if you put dVn as V d theta here in equation number 1, so dVn is V into d theta, and if you substitute it here in An, what are you going to get? An is V d theta dt, and d theta dt is rate of change of angular. It's V by R, so it becomes V square by R, and I'm pretty sure you have seen this equation before as well. An acts inward along the normal and is known as the centripetal acceleration. This derivation you must have seen before while studying physics in your class 12, or I mean even in mechanics class last year. All right. So this An is V square by R. It actually helps if you keep taking note. I mean, at least the equation part, because sometimes I will refer the equations which are at the back. So in that case, it would be nice if you can write these equations. Try to make a note as you normally make in the class. I mean, anyway, it's totally up to you, because otherwise you'll get confused. We will cover several equations, like 10, 12 equations now. you consider the pressure and the gravitational forces, Newton's second law can be applied to the fluid element surrounding point 1 in the direction normal to the streamline. So what we are going to do, we are going to apply the Newton's law in normal direction. So you see there are two forces which are very much that you can see. One is this pressure Pn from this side in the normal direction. The other is P plus del P del N into dN from this direction. Right? There is one more because this element will also have its weight. So the component of the weight in the normal direction is also there. So keeping these three forces in mind, when we write the equation, so this is mass into acceleration, rho r d theta dN into an, mass into acceleration. All right, is equal to the net force. Net force is, you see this one, P plus delta P delta N r d theta. So my pressure multiplied by sort of an area, right? It's not complete area as you see r d theta because it's in unit width. Minus P r d theta. What is this? You see, this is P plus delta P delta N and this is P. And plus the weight is also acting in the component of the weight rho g cos theta into r d theta dn. So g cos theta is the component of the weight, rho g cos theta is the component of it in the n direction. You see again, this is theta. So if this is the weight, this will be the weight cos theta. All right. So this equation comes down to, looks like a very complicated equation. All right. Now, what we have seen, an is v square by r. So if we put an is equal to v square by r here and do all the cancellations, you know, rho and d theta, wherever it is possible, you know, this will get cancelled. We will we'll come up with this equation, v square by r is equal to 1 by rho del p del n plus g cos theta. All right. So this is one of the important equations that we have got. And this is called the equation of motion normal to the streamline. We applied the Newton's second law in the normal direction, normal to the streamline. Now see, we have calculated this we have used the force equation that F is equal to ma. Now we also know that along a streamline, I'm pretty sure many of you would have read this, that along the streamline the head is constant. The total h along a streamline is given by h is equal to v square by 2g plus p by rho g plus z. That is the total head. And since h remains constant along a streamline, so along that S streamline, this is the assumption of Bernoulli's equation, Bernoulli's theorem. We get, so if the streamline, along the streamline the head is constant, so del h by del s is equal to 0. All right, very simple. Now what we do, this equation we know. But what we do with S, we know that del h by del s is equal to 0. That is in S direction. That the velocity along the streamline. But what we do not know is the normal to the streamline. So let's differentiate h here with respect to n. N is the normal. We can write dh del h by del n is equal to v by g del v del n plus 1 by rho g into del p del n plus z is del z del n. All right, good. And now we know that del p del n is what? This is pressure gradient, right? The rate of change of pressure in the normal direction is called pressure gradient. Now we substitute the expression of pressure gradient from equation 4 in this equation. Which was equation 4? So you remember we have this equation where we were able to relate del p del n to v square by r and g cos theta. if we use equation 4 into this equation, what we are going to get is del h del n will left hand side will be same. V by G del V del n plus V square by GR plus del Z del n minus cos theta. And what is del Z del n? I told del Z del n in that figure was nothing but cos theta. So this will get cancelled, cos theta minus cos theta, and what we get del H by del N is V by G del V del N plus V square by GR, which can be written as V by G can be taken as common multiplied by del V del N plus V by R. This is again an important equation which shows the variation of the total head in the normal direction, and the variation of total head in the streamline is 0 because along a streamline due to Bernoulli's equation head remains unchanged. So this is another important equation, equation number 9. Now after covering these two important equations, we are going to see what a plane circular vortex flow is. And with this plane circular, so what we were doing, we were just seeing the streamlines until now. Now we are going to see plane circular vortex flows and then go to the free and forced vortex from there. Now flows with concentric streamlines, this is called the plane circular vortex flows. So if these streamlines are like, you know, these concentric streamlines, these are called plane vortex flows. Here for each of these lines, phi is equal to constant. Now with respect to the polar coordinate system, where the center of the circle is the origin, velocity field normally is written as, so in polar coordinate, I am pretty sure you might have read it somewhere, but if you have not, please go and see. So like we have a Cartesian coordinate x, y, z, there is a polar coordinate, right, in terms of r, theta, and r is the radius and theta is the angle. If the center of the circle is the origin, the velocity field can be written as, in this particular case, v theta is not equal to 0. So that is the tangential component of the velocity, but the radial component of the velocity in the plane circular vortex flow is 0. So velocity does not vary with in the radial direction. The fluid rotates, but in the angular, in the tangential direction. The radial component of the velocity in this case is 0, whereas the tangential component of the velocity is non-zero. Now this is something which I would want you to look at it, because I am pretty sure you might not have seen this. But take it for granted, you know the continuity equation is there. Continuity equation in Cartesian coordinates you might have read. In this course you have read A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. But it comes from a differential equation which involves del rho del t plus u del, you might have seen, right, del rho u del x plus del rho v rho y plus del rho z. So del rho w del z is equal to 0. That is the continuity equation in general. For an incompressible flow, there is no change in the rho. Rho means density. Therefore, it turns out to be del u del x plus del v del y plus del w del z. All right, and even if we simplify it further, you can write A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. But a general continuity equation in polar coordinates for two-dimensional incompressible flow is this. This you can verify. Okay, it's a very standard equation. Probably you might have seen it in maths, but I cannot say for sure. But let's say this is the equation. All right, the continuity equation in polar coordinate system for two-dimensional incompressible flow. Okay. Now, considering the velocity for a plane circular vortex flow, the above continuity equation. So, if you apply VR is equal to 0 to this continuity equation, you see VR will be 0, this will be 0. What we are going to remain is del V theta by del theta is equal to 0. For these flows, if we use the continuity equation, so we have del V theta by del theta is equal to 0, which implies that V theta is not a function of theta, because del V theta by del theta is equal to 0, but only a function of R. This equation implies that it's only a function of the velocity in the tangential direction is a function of the radius. Hence, if we use equation 9, you see this is equation 9. So del H by del N is equal to V by G, del V del N plus V by R. So what we are going to get if we use this equation number 10, sorry, equation number 11, we can write dH by dr, right? Because N is the R direction. So instead of N, we are using R. So dH by dr is equal to V theta by G, dV theta by dr plus V theta by R, because here we have replaced N with R. All right. Good. So this is one important equation that now we are going to use for free vortex and forced vortex. With this background, we are turning our attention to flows which are called the free vortex flows. Free vortex flows are plain circular vortex flows, the one that we covered before, where the total mechanical energy remains constant in the entire flow field. So you see, remember this equation, what is one of the things that if the mechanical energy remains constant, it's very normal to assume that dH by dr is going to be 0, right? So total energy in free vortex flows do not vary from streamline to streamline. Thus, the previous equation which I have showed you, this equation number 12, can be reduced to the left hand side becomes 0. It's V theta by G, dV theta dr plus V theta by R is equal to 0. All right. Or to further simplify dV this one and do the integration, you can write 1 by R dV theta R by dr is equal to 0. The same equation. Or if you integrate this, you get V theta is equal to some constant C divided by R. So V theta is inversely proportional to the radius. This is what we obtain in the free vortex flows. And this C is constant of integration. This is the velocity field in a free vortex flow. This is one important thing that you must remember, that in a free vortex flows, the velocity V theta, V theta means the velocity in the theta direction or stream in the, actually the tangential velocity is C by R. Now so this is another equation which you can look for out in the book, the vorticity of the plane circular vortex flow in the polar coordinate. The vorticity is given like this. This is the definition of the vorticity. This vorticity is dV theta by dr plus V theta by R. This is standard definition, okay, of the vorticity. I have covered this in my fluid kinematics a little. All right, and more in viscous fluid flow, but viscous fluid flow is not in the syllabus for this course. Anyways, like I told you, this is the in the polar coordinate. This is the continuity equation. Remember, learn this, that this is the vorticity for in the polar coordinates. So vorticity is dV theta dr plus V theta by R, and if you substitute V theta is equal to C by R, you put C by R here. So what is going to be? Minus C by R square plus C by R square. The vorticity is going to be 0. So if we evaluate the vorticity using the above equation for a free vortex motion, we shall obtain 0 vorticity. So for a free vortex motion, we have seen that the vorticity is also 0. Hence, free vortex flow is irrotational as well. This is one important property of the free vortex flow. Now, as you see, as R approaches 0, V theta tends to infinity. Therefore, there is a point of singularity at R is equal to 0. This equation is very clear, right? If R goes to 0, this will be infinity. So R is equal to 0 is a point of singularity. Okay. So free vortex flow has zero vorticity. So I mean, anybody can assume or think that the force vortex flow will not have zero vorticity, right? So with that notion in mind, we come to force vortex flow. Here, when the streamlines are concentric circles, as well, similar to the free vortex flows, the tangential velocity is directly proportional to the radius of the curvature. Okay. The flow field in polar coordinate system is described as. So here we know that the v theta v is equal to r omega, that we know in the polar coordinate system. We write v theta as r omega. Okay. This is the angular velocity. This is we know from before from our mechanics class. There's nothing new that we have written here. And Vr is equal to 0. You remember that we said that it will be in the beginning only for the vortex motion, the plane circular vortex motion, Vr is equal to 0 and V theta was not equal to 0. This is what we have written. So V theta is r omega and Vr is 0. So all the fluid particles rotate with same angular velocity. These are all assumptions of the force vortex flow. Now the vorticity, you remember this equation? This equation 16. We have to find out what this vorticity is for the this vorticity can be written as, let's say, 2 omega. Can be written as 2 omega, where omega is the angular velocity. Thus, the force vortex motion is a rotational flow with a constant vorticity of 2 omega. If you substitute V is equal to r omega and Vr is equal to 0 in the equation and try to obtain this, you will end with dv theta by dr plus v theta by r. It will give you 2 omega. Thus, a force vortex motion is a rotational flow with a constant vorticity of 2 omega. And the energy distribution of mechanical energy across the radius, we substitute this vorticity as 2 omega in the equation 12. Which was equation 12? We derived this equation of the mechanical energy. Yes, this one. dH by dr is equal to v theta by g. You remember this is 2 omega. Right? This is nothing but the vorticity. This term. Using this for a forced vortex. Here, sorry. Yeah. dH by dr is equal to 2 omega square r by g. Because v you put as r omega. Now, if you integrate this equation between two radii on the same horizontal plane from r1 to r2, you can write h2 minus h1 is equal to omega square by g, r2 square minus r1 square. Very simple. Okay, you just integrate, definite integration between 2 points. Okay. So this is one important equation. H2 minus H1 is equal to omega square by G, R2 square minus R1 square. Now, if you apply the Bernoulli's theorem, the difference between the total heads between any 2 points on the same horizontal plane can be written as Bernoulli's equation, right? H2 minus H1 is equal to P2 minus P1, V2 minus V1. The differences in the pressure heads and the velocity heads will give us the total head difference because they are in the same horizontal plane. So that Z, the datum is 0. The difference in datum is 0. Now what we can do is we can put V is r omega here. So it will become, see, omega is constant throughout the motion. It's only r that is changing. So we can write this is equation. This remains unchanged. This remains unchanged. Here just changes. V square W omega square by 2g multiplied by r2 square minus r1 square. Now what we are going to do, we are going to substitute the right hand side of equation number 20 and equation number 18 here. Okay. What we obtain is P2 minus P1 by rho is equal to omega square by 2 R2 square minus R1 square. Sorry. This is one important equation or the pressure difference between two points for the force vortex motion, P2 square minus, sorry, P2 minus P1 by rho is equal to omega square by 2 R2 square minus R1 square. This is another important equation. Now with this thing in mind, we are going to cover that particular configuration of force vortex motion which normally is encountered in real life or also in your lab. That is cylindrical force vortex. You will see in the lab that we generate the cylindrical vortex. Now this cylindrical force vortex can be generated by rotating a cylindrical vessel containing a fluid like this. So if you keep on rotating the fluid, a vortex will be generated. All right, and the liquid will bend like this with a radius r, and the datum, this is z naught from here. Right, this is the datum that we've assumed. All right, and this is z, any z. At any horizontal plane, the tangential velocity is satisfied. So tangential velocity will always satisfy r theta. R will vary, right? R will change from point to point. At any z, r will be different. Here, this is the r. At this z, the r will be little smaller. But the velocity will always be v is equal to r omega. And the pressure head at any point P by rho g is equal to the depth of the point below the free surface. So the pressure that is going to be there, it will be proportional to P is equal to rho gh, or the height, whatever it is there. H means Z. Now if we apply equation 21, which is equation 21, this is the equation. P2 minus P1 by rho is equal to omega square by 2 R2 square minus R1 square. Between point 0 and A. What is 0? This is the datum 0. Okay. And this is the point A. 0 and A. You see? Here it is Z naught. Here it is Z. So we get Z minus Z naught is equal to omega square R square by 2G, because here R is 0. At point 0, radius is 0. But at point A, there is R. Z minus Z naught is equal to omega square R square by 2G. Now this is the equation of the free surface for the rotating cylinder, force vortex rotating cylinder force, because we are rotating it using any external force in the lab. Okay. And you see the free surface of the liquid is paraboloid in this case. A small numerical to finish our lecture. A 0.0225 meter diameter cylinder is 1.5 meter long and contains water up to a height of 1.05 meter. Estimate the speed at which the cylinder may be rotated about its vertical axis so that the axial depth becomes 0. Right? So axial depth means that point 0. So what is the speed omega? That is what we have to find. Okay. So we are going to see this. This is the same configuration that we are going to do. All right. You see, this is the setup. This is the axis of rotation, right? This is 1.5 meter, it is written, which is 1.5 meter long and contains water up to a height of 1.05 meter. And this diameter is, so 1.05 meter and this is 1.5 meter, the length. Okay. Radius of the cylinder is 0.225 by 2, that is 0.1125 meter. When the axial depth Z0 is 0, the depth of the paraboloid is 1.5 meter. You see the full, it will be full. It will be occupied full. So Z will be in that case without any spill. So water will not spill until 1.5 meter. Now if we use equation 22, Z minus Z0 is equal to omega square r square by 2g, where z is 1.5, z naught is 0, r is 0.1125, and g is 9.81 meters square per second. We get omega, that is the rotation is 48.22 radians per second. If you substitute these values in this equation and find omega, it's going to be radian per second. But I mean, we are trying to convert into rotation per minute. So simply convert omega to n, 2 pi n by 60. Our answer is 460.47 rotations per minute. If we rotate the cylinder up till this rotation per minute, the water is not going to spill, and this is what we get, this configuration. Right? So this concludes our free vortex motion, the lecture for the course hydraulics, but the same concept you can apply to the lab class as well. So I'll now stop recording this first.